For a long time, self-doubt felt like a shadow I couldn't escape. No matter how much I achieved, there was always a voice in my head whispering that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't deserve success, and that sooner or later everyone would see me for the fraud I believed I was. It took years of self-reflection, practice, and intentional effort, but I eventually learned to silence that voice and replace it with love, acceptance, and confidence. This is my journey of overcoming self-doubt and learning to love myself. Recognizing the root of my self-doubt. Self-doubt doesn't appear out of nowhere. It is often the result of years of conditioning, past experiences, and societal expectations. In my case, it stemmed from childhood experiences where I felt I had to earn love through achievements. Praise came when I excelled, and disappointment loomed when I failed. Over time, I internalized the belief that my worth was tied to my success, and any setback felt like a reflection of my inadequacy. As I grew older, this pattern persisted. I doubted my abilities, second-guessed my decisions, and compared myself to others. The fear of failure held me back from taking risks, and I often played small because I didn't trust myself to handle challenges. My self-worth fluctuated based on external validation, and I struggled to appreciate myself for who I was rather than what I did. I remember a specific moment in college when I received a lower grade than I expected on a project. Instead of seeing it as a learning opportunity, I spiraled into self-criticism. "I'm not smart enough," I told myself. "I'll never succeed." This kind of thinking became a recurring theme in my life, and it wasn't until much later that I realized how deeply it was affecting my mental health and overall happiness. The turning point: confronting my inner critic. One day, after yet another missed opportunity due to my fear of failure, I decided that enough was enough. I was tired of letting self-doubt dictate my life, so I made a conscious decision to confront my inner critic. I began paying attention to the negative thoughts that ran through my mind and questioning their validity. Would I talk to a friend the way I talked to myself? Would I ever tell someone I loved that they weren't good enough? The answer was a resounding no. So why was I being so cruel to myself? That realization was a breakthrough moment for me. I had spent years believing my inner critic, but now I saw it for what it was: a collection of fears, insecurities, and outdated beliefs that no longer served me. This realization didn't magically erase my self-doubt, but it gave me the clarity I needed to start making changes. I began to see my inner critic as a separate entity, one that I could challenge and eventually silence. Reframing my thoughts from self-doubt to self-love. Once I identified the destructive thought patterns, I worked on reframing them. Every time I caught myself thinking, "I'm not good enough," I replaced it with, "I am learning and growing every day." When I felt like a failure, I reminded myself, mistakes are opportunities for growth. I also started practicing self-affirmations. At first, it felt awkward to stand in front of the mirror and say kind things to myself, but over time, it became a habit. Statements like, "I am worthy of love and success," and "I believe in my abilities," gradually started to sink in. The more I repeated them, the more I began to believe them. One of the most powerful tools I discovered was journaling. Writing down my thoughts and feelings helped me process them in a healthy way. I began to notice patterns in my thinking and could more easily identify when self-doubt was creeping in. Journaling also allowed me to document my progress, which was incredibly motivating. Surrounding myself with positive influences. Another crucial step in my journey was surrounding myself with supportive people. I realized that I had spent too much time around those who drained my energy, reinforced my self-doubt, or made me feel small. Instead, I sought out friends, mentors, and communities that uplifted and encouraged me. I also became mindful of the content I consumed. I started following motivational speakers, reading self-help books, and listening to podcasts that focused on personal growth and self-love. The more I immersed myself in positive influences, the more my mindset began to shift. One book that had a profound impact on me was The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. Her teachings on vulnerability and self-compassion resonated deeply with me and helped me see that perfection was not only unattainable but also unnecessary. Practicing self-compassion. One of the most transformative practices I adopted was self-compassion. For years, I was my own harshest critic, replaying mistakes in my mind and holding myself to impossibly high standards. But I realized that self-criticism wasn't helping me grow. It was only making me feel unworthy. Instead of tearing myself down, I started treating myself with the same kindness and understanding I would offer a friend. I reminded myself that making mistakes is part of being human, and I wasn't an exception. I allowed myself to experience emotions without judgment and accepted that I didn't have to be perfect to be deserving of love and respect. I also learned the importance of celebrating small wins. I stopped waiting for major achievements to feel proud of myself and instead acknowledged my daily efforts. Whether it was showing up for myself, completing a difficult task, or practicing self-care, I embraced each step forward. Setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care. As I grew in self-love, I realized that setting boundaries was essential to protecting my energy and mental well-being. I learned that saying no wasn't selfish, it was an act of self-respect. I stopped agreeing to things that drained me and let go of toxic relationships that no longer served my growth. Instead of overcommitting to please others, I prioritized my own peace and happiness. It wasn't always easy, but with time, I understood that valuing myself meant choosing environments and people that uplifted me rather than depleted me. Self-care became a non-negotiable part of my daily routine. I made time for activities that nourished my body, mind, and soul, whether it was journaling to process my thoughts, meditating to center myself, moving my body through exercise, or simply allowing myself to rest without guilt. The more I honored my own needs, the stronger my belief became that I was worthy of love, care, and compassion. Embracing my authentic self. The most beautiful part of my journey was embracing my authentic self. I let go of the need for perfection and allowed myself to be vulnerable. I stopped comparing myself to others and started focusing on my unique strengths and passions. I gave myself permission to pursue my dreams even if they scared me. I took risks, stepped out of my comfort zone, and embraced the unknown. And most importantly, I learned to love myself, not for what I accomplished, but simply for who I was. Overcoming self-doubt and learning to love myself wasn't an overnight process. It took time, patience, and consistent effort. There are still moments when self-doubt creeps in, but the difference now is that I know how to handle it. I remind myself of how far I've come, practice self-compassion, and choose love over fear. If you're struggling with self-doubt, know that you are not alone. Your worth is not determined by your achievements or what others think of you. You are enough just as you are. Start by being kind to yourself, challenging negative thoughts, and surrounding yourself with positivity. With time, effort, and love, you too can overcome self-doubt and step into your full potential. You are worthy, you are capable, you are enough. If you found this video an inspiration, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel for more content. Thank you.